All right, YouTube, we are back, and we are back with our good friend Martin from Canada.
Always good to see you,
Brother,
Dom.
it's fantastic to have him. Martin, if you don't know, he came here a couple months ago. We had an awesome video with him. Martin is an MMA fighter and a praying mantis guy from up in Canada. Please tell everybody about your school, please.
So our school is Wu-Tan Canada. We're based out of Ottawa, Ontario. So we train 4 nights a week out of both Carleton University and Algonquin College. We do not only traditional Kung Fu, but we also adapt that to our kickboxing and our grappling, and that's what's taken us into competitions with either Chinese kickboxing, which is called Sanda or Senshao, where you can use strikes and takedowns, or into MMA as a whole and grappling competitions.
Awesome. And I'm going to put the link to Martin's YouTube channel up on ours again, too. We're doing Q&A with Martin today. We're going to start out with our good friend Andre Liu. And if you don't know who Andre is, he's featured in this month's edition of Wing Chun Blast with Danny Horgan. Again, subscribe to both Danny's channel and Andre's channel. They're both our dear Kung Fu brothers. Andre wants to know, what factors do you consider when deciding whether or not to go for a takedown or to keep striking when you're fighting?
When I'm looking at whether I go in for takedowns or striking, the first part that I look at, and the main difference I would say between MMA and a street fight, is I have time to prepare. There's a quote, I don't remember who said it, but a moment of brilliant success is brought about, or of spectacular success is brought about by many moments of unspectacular preparation.
Wow.
And so if I have to go into a fight, whether I'm fighting Wing Chun, kickboxer, Muay Thai, you can bet the first thing I do is I'll log on and I'll see if they have a YouTube account. If they have a YouTube account, I'll study that fighter. I'll study how they move. Do they do takedowns? Do they like to go to the ground? Do they like to stay standing? And from there, I'm going to build a profile of the fighter. If I can't build a profile of the fighter, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my best to build a profile of the art. Again, we've got YouTube is an excellent resource. If nothing else, you can go out and you can find information as to how is this style likely to strike, how is this style likely to attack me. And then from there, what I'll do is I'll call up any of my friends. For instance, if I had to fight a Wing Chun guy, you can bet the first thing I would do is give Dominick a call and say, hey Dominick, guess what? I have to fight a Wing Chun guy. What should I do? So from here, I try to build a picture of the person, of the art, and I'll prepare myself for that. And you always talk a lot about child, adolescent, and
Absolutely.
Adult. This breaks down the same way. So that whole child phase is preparing for it. The next thing I'm going to do is when we first enter the ring, I'm going to probe my opponent and I'm going to find out if my theories are true. It would be nice to say that I always get everything 100% from YouTube videos. Reality is somewhat different. So what I'll do is, if we could just square off for a second. Whenever I'm leading into a fight, you'll see my bread and butter combo that I start with is an inside round, jab, cross, outside round to the leg. And the reason I do that is I see how he deals with forward pressure. Once I evaluate that, typically I'll circle out a lot to the left, and then as soon as we're reset again, I'll come in and I'll circle out to the right. So what I do is now I start to evaluate Dominick as a fighter, saying, okay, how does he move forward and back? Does he respond bringing pressure into me, or does he respond by stepping back? Does he move well to his left? Does he move well to his right? Once I evaluate a fighter in that way, now I can start to execute a game plan. If Dominick is always going to be running away from me, it's going to be very hard to execute that takedown. If you look statistically, I like to fight with numbers. I don't like to fight willy-nilly. I really like to do research and figure out what I've done. So if you look at takedowns in center ring, they're very rare. Not to say they don't happen, but most takedowns in MMA, whether that's a ring or a cage, happen when I can push someone up against the wall, and instead of being able to sprawl their legs back, they get trapped up here against the wall, then they can't sprawl. That single leg becomes very easy. It becomes very easy to sweep. He's no longer got any momentum to go. So if he's always running away, unless I corner him against the wall, I'm going to avoid the takedown. Or maybe he's putting a lot of pressure on me. If I'm receiving a lot of pressure, this is now where center ring takedowns can work. So if Dominick's coming in and he's putting a lot of pressure on me, great, he's coming in. This is now, I don't need to force Dominick up against the wall because he's already providing that. That's where I can pass very easily into any of my high singles. I can sweep. I love to roll over the top. My favorite throw is when people drop their heads, especially because I'm big. They tend to come in like this, and I'll actually take it from the other side so the camera can see. I sweep underneath, I lock up, and then from here, I'll roll. It's called an anaconda. It's an extremely easy roll to use. You'll see it done in MMA. You'll see it done in wrestling. Wrestling sometimes, depending on your rules, can't lock up, so they'll just tie in like that. In our style of Kung Fu, we have our hands like this all the time. My hands are here, or they're out here. It's the same thing whether you're kickboxing, MMA, your martial arts are always applicable to that. So once I have a picture of my fighter, once I know what he's going to do, that's when I can decide whether I'm going to take a lot of takedowns or whether I'm going to stay with a just striking strategy. So, like I say, that probing would be my adolescent phase. And then when I've got that picture of him, that's when I can move into the adult phase and decide, do I go for takedowns? Do I go for continuous striking? What are you giving me? Another gentleman I trained with, Eugene Shuchuk, he's out of Club Kozak in Montreal. He always told me, you never go for what you want, you always go for what you're given.
Absolutely, and that's our thing in Wing Chun. You dictate what we get. So we don't ever try and get a technique on you. We just put energy out. You dictate, same thing.
And so that's exactly it. And so that's how I'll try to build a picture of that fighter in order to decide whether I'm going to be striking or doing those takedowns.
That's fantastic. That is an awesome question and answer. Number 2, I'm going to talk. Thomas Radke asks, what are the most important things in a tournament fight? And do you prefer to stay calm in combat, or do you unleash your other self to defeat the opponent? I mean, that's great for a tournament fighter, because in street fighting, I tell everybody, it's like, you got to unleash hell. But is it the same in a tournament fight?
It is the same. The difference, I would say, in a tournament fight is a street fight typically will start somewhere in this range.
Chest bumping, all this
The
stuff
chest bumping, the hand. If we're in an MMA fight, I get the benefit of starting all the way back here.
Yeah.
So a lot of the suddenness is gone. So just charging across the ring to be a beast, less what you're going to want, but you're still going to use that. You're just going to hold that. The problem with unleashing the beast is that it is very energy intensive.
Yeah.
The more strikes I throw, the harder strikes I throw, the more volume of strikes I throw, the more energy I burn. So I want to make sure when I unleash that, it's coming at the right moment to do the most damage. An example I'll give, I was in a fight. I was actually fighting a pro fighter by the name of Mike Martelli, and he almost had me in a key lock. I managed to roll him over. Mike is a fantastic fighter. He's won a lot of fights. I managed to get full mount. That was the time to hold nothing back. However, before then, I couldn't just go in and start swinging. I would have been taken to pieces. Now, staying calm, that's a lot harder said than done. And the reason for this is I would say that amateur fights are the scariest thing you can participate in. And the reason for that is a street fight happens very fast. You don't have time to consider the outcome, or if you do have time to consider the outcome, why have you gone on this street fight vendetta?
Right.
With an amateur fight, let's say I'm fighting Dominick. Oh, guess what? We're last on the card and there's 10 guys before us. Both Dominick and I have managed to see 10 people get the tar beaten out of them before us. That's scary. I mean, you watch a guy get carted out of the ring and not even unconscious, but he's bloody, he's beaten up, he's hurt, and you realize that, hey, someone else is going to do the same thing. You're a liar if you go into that ring the first time and say, oh, don't worry.
Oh, everything's controlled. The Super Cop boxing tournaments I did, and every single wrestling match I ever did, you're shitting your pants before a match, no matter what you do.
And if you don't, you pay for it. I did that. I talked to a fighter before I was going in. He trolled me. I said, oh, how many fights have you done? He said, I haven't done really that much. I said, oh, good, fresh meat. Here I go. In the first 20 seconds, it was a Sanda fight. He hit me with a hook, and I went from standing here to down on the ground here, and I don't remember how I got there. Now you can bet that that was a long 2 minutes, that first round, and all I had to do was survive that 2 minutes. But for 2 minutes, well, it took me time to rally. He kicked the tar out of me.
Yeah.
I managed to come back in the second and the third round and take the fight, but that was the longest 2 minutes I ever had, and the reason I had that is because I walked in going, let's go, fresh meat, no problems. Have that attitude. I did. You hurt.
That's another fantastic question. All right, and lastly, we got, I kind of like this one. This is from one of the best wrestling coaches in the state of Illinois, Sam Geraci from Headlock Wrestling Academy. He simply asks, GSP or Hendricks?
So the answer to that is really easy. It's GSP, hands down, no way he can lose. And I'm going to preface that by saying I'm a Montrealer. I'm half French-Canadian. GSP is a Montrealer. He's French-Canadian. GSP could be brought into that fight in a wheelchair in a coma, and I would still vote for GSP because hands down, I've got to support GSP.
Coach, I hope that answers your question on there. Once again, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate
My
you doing
pleasure,
this
Dominic.
today. Stay tuned. Coming up to the channel, we got JKD legend in Chicago area, Mike Van Beek, coming on. I got from Rapid Fighting Arts. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. My good friend Paul Ingram. I'm sorry, Paul Ingram, who's one of the best knife guys around. He's going to be coming in, and we're going to do Q&A with him too. So we got a lot of guys coming to the channel, going to be doing Q&A with us. If you are interested in doing Q&A, please send me an email, give me a call. Email is izzotacticalcombat@gmail.com, or you can find my phone number on my website. Other than that, we'll see you guys in the next video.